Orientation video lecture for Introduction to Philosophy. My name is Roger Foster and I teach philosophy in the Department of Social Science at Manhattan Community College. And in this lecture, I'm just going to talk you through some of the important things that you're going to need to know to get started in this course to understand how it works. Some of you may be new to taking an online class. Some of you may have taken several before, but it's important for us to get all on the same page and make sure we know what we're doing from the start. So this is a 100% asynchronous class in philosophy, and that means that you're not required to log on at specific times. I won't be having lectures at specific times, but all of the material must be done on a weekly basis, and it's up to you how you do it, of course, as long as you meet the deadlines. And the deadlines, as we'll see, are on a weekly basis, and as other things come up, and papers and exams, there'll be sort of deadlines as well. So, but it's up to you within that framework when you do the work. So you can watch the lectures at the time of day you prefer. You can do the posts at the time of day you prefer. Again, as long as you're meeting those deadlines and as long as you're making sure you get through the weekly material. And organization is a big part of this, as we'll talk about, and it's very important to have a clear plan of how you're going to get the work done in an asynchronous distance learning class like this one. All right, so as I said, some of you may be new, some of you may have a lot of experience as online students, but it's a good idea to just recap some of these things that really make a difference to how successful you are as an online student in an online class. And things like setting aside a specific time for schoolwork and in fact having a plan that you can that spells out when you're going to do your work on a weekly basis, so you have a schedule. That's really important. Reaching out to your instructors for help. I'm available online. I'll have office hours twice a week. I'm here to help you. I check email every day, so reaching out when you need help, when you're confused, is also very important. Building relationships with your peers, get to know other people in the class, build relationships, keep each other clued in, and keep each other motivated with regard to the content, with regard to staying on schedule, making sure things are done in time, and making sure that you don't miss anything. It's really important to rely on each other and to develop those connections that can help you to succeed. Check your online course daily, check certainly several times per week. There's a lot of things to do. You have to access it for the readings, for the lectures, for doing the discussion board post, the blog post, and the quiz and the exams and so on. So plan on accessing several times per week so you can meet all of those requirements and make sure that you get everything done, that you're not cramming at the end of the week. And of course, that's number 5, is really important. Plan out the semester. Make sure you're doing the reading, trying to get to the lectures earlier in the week to give yourself time to do the discussion board and the blogs and the quizzes later in the week. Focus on learning, not memorizing, right? This is a philosophy course, and what's important is learning and evidence of skills of analysis, critical thinking and interpretation. All right, so we're going to be reading texts together and using our analytical and critical thinking skills to make sense of those texts, all of us bringing things to the table. So it's about learning here. We're not just looking to memorize information, we're looking to pick apart difficult, complex texts. And this is, for me as somebody in the humanities, this is really what college is really about, focusing on your skills of interpretation and your critical thinking skills, making you better learners, giving you mastery of how to read difficult texts. That's a really important thing for me in teaching philosophy. Learn about the resources available to you. You'll see a load of them on the syllabus. There's a load more on our Blackboard site. But again, this is a thing that if you reach out, if you look on the BMCC website, you'll see there's a lot of resources available to students. Okay, so this is a WAC, a writing across the curriculum class, which means we focus quite heavily on writing and improving student writing, and that's going to be an important part of the course here. We'll have a class paper, and part of the process is that you'll have a chance to revise the paper for an improved grade, and I'll give you a rubric for the paper later on when we come to that. So the paper will be an important part of that, and also the writing we do on a weekly basis, which is kind of preparatory for exams and papers and so on. There'll be a lot of preparatory writing as well. And I like to stress the idea of writing as a kind of permanent thing. So we often think of writing as something that you do at the end when you've done the reading and you've sort of thought about it and now it's time to write. And I prefer to develop and to sort of encourage you to develop a view of writing as a permanent process where writing is just constantly part of the process of thinking. And writing helps you think clearly, it helps you formulate thoughts. It's not just a way of sort of writing down and composing your thoughts, it's actually thought in process. So the more we can get into that frame of mind, and the the assignments and tasks sort of dedicated to build that way of thinking, and I think that's a much more powerful way of thinking about writing and its power to you as a student. So that's what I'm going to emphasize in this class. Okay, so on the syllabus you'll find all the important information about the class. You'll see here on the front my office hours, Tuesday and Friday 3 to 4:30. You'll see my Skype name and Skype ID, so you can contact me. I'll be having office hours on Skype on Tuesday and Thursday at 3 o'clock to 4:30. So that's open to everybody who's in the class. You can contact me. You can get in touch with whatever you want to talk about. The course description here, you can look at that in your own time. And the syllabus talks you through all of the important requirements in the course and everything you need to know. The evaluation and requirements of students on the syllabus is particularly important. You'll see here there's the discussion board contribution, the blogs, and the quizzes. Those are the weekly sort of assignments that we'll do on a weekly basis. Every week in the course there'll be a deadline for those 3 things. There are 2 essay type exams, and there is also the class paper. So that's sort of the sort of framework of the evaluation and requirement, and I'll talk about those things in a bit more detail. First, let me just talk about the required texts. Here we have the 3 texts that we're going to be using in the class, and it's important to get hold of these and have them available. The first is the Republic of Plato. This is the translation by Alan Bloom, and it's important to get this translation. All the translations are very different, and the Bloom translation is different to all of the others. So it's important to get this translation, to work with it. We'll be reading it very intensely in the first 4 weeks of the course. So we're going to start with this book and tackle our way through it in the first 4 weeks of class. The second text is Essays on Civil Disobedience. It's a smaller text, and it's edited by Bob Blaisdell, and that'll be our guide work when we're working through the module on civil disobedience. And finally, The Philosophy of Tragedy by Julian Young. This will be our text when we're working through tragedy. The Philosophy of Tragedy will be our 3rd module in the course. So make sure you get these texts. We'll be using them actively in the course. You'll need them to do the assignments, so that it's important to get hold of them. All right, on the one of the things you have to do before the first week starts is to create a blog. And you'll see in course materials, I've given you a number of options here for creating a blog. You can create one with blogger.com, you can create one with Tumblr, or you can create one with WordPress. No, you only have to create one blog, You only have to do one blog and you'll post on that for the whole semester, but you have a number of choices of the platform that you want to use. If you use a different platform, or if you want to use a different platform, that's fine, as long as the blog is visible to everybody. Send me the URL and I'll put it on the list. And what I'll do once we get started, I will create there's a button called blogs you see here. Once you post your blog on the URL in the discussion board on the blogs, in the blogs forum, I will post the URL there in the blogs segment, and we'll have a blog roll of all the class blogs when you've posted all of them. So that's where I'll sort of collect them when you've posted them, when you've posted the URL for me on the discussion board. All right, so when you look at assignments, this is the sort of lineup that you'll see at first, and these are the weekly tasks. So there'll be a blog post for week 1, week 2, and every week that we going forward. There will be a quiz for every week, and there will be a discussion board post as well for every week as well. And the discussion board is really my course attendance and participation. So to make sure that you're attending the course and to make sure that you're participating in the course, you have to post on the discussion board. Posts are a minimum for both the discussion board and the blog. Posts are a minimum of 100 words, and it should be about the material that we're talking about. For the discussion board, it should respond to the prompt. In the blogs, it's a little more flexible. You may respond to the prompt. You can also do your own thing a little bit more, as long as you're responding to the weekly material. I'm okay with that. But for the discussion board, it's a little more focused. And like I said, when you're participating there, doing a post and doing a reply to a classmate also, that's your sort of attendance and participation in class. Or if you're not present on the discussion board, it's like you're absent in class, you're not participating, and you're not really there, so you're not sort of part of the collective learning in the class, and that's not where you want to be. You want to be part of the collective learning, you want to be participating, because that's how you're going to learn, right? So make sure you know what you need to do. Make sure you can log in. Make sure you create your blog. If you have any problems with that, again, let me know. And if I can't help you, I'll be able to put you in touch with people who can, hopefully. All right, so when you look at your weekly schedule and you try to plan how you're going to tackle this course, here's what you're going to be facing on a weekly basis. So there are usually 2 readings, right? So when we're reading Plato, it's 2 chapters. When we, civil disobedience, it might be 2 different lectures, but there are usually 2 readings a week. So those are the first things you'll do. You'll log on and do the readings. When you've done the readings, there's a video lecture that's coordinated with each reading. So for each reading, there will be a video lecture. As there are 2 readings, that means there will always be 2 video lectures per week, right? So the first things, this is the content part of the course. You'll do the readings and you'll watch the video lectures. And then when you've done that content piece, then you can think about the assignment piece, getting the weekly tasks done. And so the discussion board post and the blog post, usually one of those will be on one of the readings, the other one will be on the other reading. So you tackle the blog post and the discussion board post, minimum of 100 words, like I said. And then I think finally it makes sense to do the quiz as sort of the last thing. Remember, when you do your discussion board post, to do a reply to a classmate. Discussion board posts are due on Saturday. Everything else, the reply to a classmate, the blog post, and the quiz, are due on Sunday. All right, so there will be 2 essay type exams. There will be 1 2-hour essay type exam on Plato's Republic. That's the first module in the course. And the philosophy of tragedy, which is the final module in the course. So after each of those 2, there will be a 2-hour exam. And it will be an essay type exam, meaning that it's not like the quizzes, it's not multiple choice and stuff like that. You will have an opportunity to show what you've learned by writing essay type answers to 3 questions in a 2-hour timed exam. So yeah, so the purpose is to give you a chance to show what you've learned, to showcase your interpretation and your reading of the text in those exams. So it'll be timed, and that will be the sort of assessment of the first module and the third module. The other task will be the class paper, and this paper will be based on the material in the second module of the course on civil disobedience. Papers should be 4 to 5 pages in length and will be submitted on Blackboard. You'll have the opportunity to revise your paper for an improved grade. So once you hand them in, I'll get them back to you with comments and you can rewrite them for improvement. The question and the rubric will be available in due course on Blackboard. Once we start the second module, I'll make those things available for you. All right, so when you go to course materials and you look at the weekly folders, this is week 1, for example. So when we start week 1 and when we start week 1, we're going to have to do a number of content things, the reading, of course, and the lectures which are given here. And the lectures are usually at the top of the list. So you'll see here in week 1, there's actually an extra lecture. There's the introduction to the Republic, so the introduction to the book as a whole. So watch that first. That gives you some really important background about Athenian society, which will make the book, I think, more interesting and more relevant for us. So watch that first. Read books 1 and 2, and then you can tackle the video lecture for book 1 and then the video lecture for book 2. Everything else you see here is kind of background and things that are helpful, but things to really help you give you more of an insight into the material. If you want some sort of background information, things that are helpful, I post them in the folder as well. So it's not necessary always to go through this, but it's sometimes helpful to see what's available. Sometimes I talk about these things in the lectures, and I provide the materials I use here for you to have a look at in your own time as well. So that's how the weekly folders are arranged. There's the video lectures and then the supplementary material, which is often useful and helpful for thinking about the topic we're talking about. Just a reminder, my office hours will be Tuesdays and Fridays at 3 to 4:30 p.m. on Skype. My Skype details are on the syllabus. They're also on Blackboard. If you click on the link that says Roger Foster, you'll see my office details, my address, and my Skype details, and my phone are all there. So my contact details on Blackboard and also on the syllabus. So reach out if you need anything, if you want to know anything, if you want to know how you're doing it in the course, reach out for any reason, and reach out on Skype during those times. Finally, good luck in the course. I hope you find it a worthwhile and rewarding experience. I look forward to seeing you and interacting with you all online in this course.